Well, hello, our favorite humans. Welcome to Bronx Tales with your host, Bronxy B, and me. I'm Logan. Thank you for being here. Wow, wow. We have so much to talk about. So, we just had a plea deal. Incredible. This is insane. I can't help but notice so many different things, and I just want to talk about them. So, first thing is first. Judge Hippler immediately called out Steve G and his plea for everybody to contact the judge and tell him all of their feelings and XYZ. And Judge Hippler immediately called him out on that. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I wasn't expecting that part. The other thing I noticed very quickly was Brian Koberger and how stiff and straight he sits. He was just so engaged at the very beginning. And I mean, he stayed that way, but he just seemed so stiff. His back was so straight and he was very engaged. Now, I think it's absolutely insane that the state really seemed to have almost no evidence. All the things that we knew of, that was it. That was all they had. I truly think that had this gone to trial, he would have been found not guilty. I don't think they had enough evidence to really tie him to that crime. The DNA that they had still wasn't enough. It was still less than a secondary transfer. So I really don't think they had enough to convict him at a trial, and I think he should have gone to trial. I'm so confused on this plea deal. It was interesting when Judge Hippler was reading off all of the names, each victim, and Brian Koberger had to say whether he was guilty or not during this plea hearing. He had to say whether he was guilty or not. And before Judge Hippler could even get the full sentence out, Brian Koberger was like, guilty, guilty. And I thought that was just really strange. Like, he was really eager to put his guilty plea in motion. Something I found incredibly interesting was during this plea hearing, not once was it stated or asked if Brian Koberger committed these acts alone. Because I cannot help but think of the blood on the handrail down to the first floor, the front door being open, and the bloody glove out front. But yet, Dylan saying she saw him walk out the back slider, which still makes me feel like there was more than one person involved. And asking him if he acted alone was never done. It might be done during sentencing, but it was not done in this phase. Is it possible that there was someone else or other people there? You know, this still does not explain the cleanup or the 8 to 9 hours for the 911 call. It doesn't explain. We still have way more questions now than we did before. And I called that. I knew we would. I knew this wasn't going to answer anything, but I find it incredibly strange that this was all of the evidence that the state had. They had nothing more to convict him. And did you guys also notice that Brian Koberger had a haircut, but he also had almost no eyebrows? If you're pleading guilty and one of the main things in this case was a bushy eyebrow, why would you bother now to get rid of your eyebrows? Now, Steve G also had a lengthy post on his social media. And when speaking on the problems with the plea deal, he mentioned the roommates and a fallen vet, meaning Brent Kopacka. Why is he bringing up Brent Kopacka and inserting him into this? We all thought there was a connection there, but is this confirmation? The gag will stay in place until sentencing, which is July 23rd at, I believe, 9 in the morning. So we'll find out more after that when they lift the gag order. And we can see all of the information that is in all of these documents now. I still don't think it's going to tell us anything different than we already know. I can't understand why he's pleading. He obviously is saying he did this, but I can't help but think that there may have been another person involved at the least. Bryan Kohberger will never, ever again for the rest of his life wear anything other than a prison jumpsuit. For the rest of his life. That was the last time he will ever feel regular street clothes against his skin. I'm curious how long it takes until Bryan Kohberger ends up deceased in prison. I'm also curious if he is being given any medications that could possibly cloud his judgment. Now, not to get super into conspiracies, but what I find interesting is in the very beginning, Dylan stated something about the intruder looking like a fireman or something about a fireman. Then the police are filmed picking up Maddie's jacket and throwing it back down next to a fire hydrant. And then just this weekend, the fireman EMT first responder that was first to the scene at 1122 King Road in 2022 was just shot this past weekend in an attempt to lure firemen to a fire and unalive them. What is the connection here that I'm missing? Something with firemen, fire hydrant. Now the fireman is shot. I'm missing something with this. I feel like there's something there that I just haven't put my finger on yet. Did any of you notice that Bill Thompson was either crying or pretending to be super upset during his last sentence as he was reading the victims' names? He got really choked up. Now, I don't know if it was an act, if it was because this is the last case he'll be working, or if he was really actually upset. But I did notice he got really choked up in one of his last sentences. I still think that Bryan Kohberger needs to provide some sort of information that proves he was there, something that only the killer would know. I think he has to say something or prove that he actually was there and did this for them to take a plea. He didn't say anything other than yes and guilty. He needs to say something and give them some information that only the killer would know to prove he did this. And that hasn't happened. Maybe it'll happen at sentencing, but it hasn't thus far. I'm curious what container he had. Dylan said she thought it was a vacuum. Bill Thompson said it was a container. What is he carrying around while he's doing this, supposedly? Some sort of container. I thought maybe it was to put weapons and clothes and stuff in, but why would he carry it around the crime scene as he's committing it? That seems a little odd to me. Bryan Kohberger tends to nod in agreement. However, when the charges were being read, I did notice he didn't nod. I don't know if it's significant or if it means anything, but he didn't. I did notice a hard swallow, though, when the charges were being read. Now, these charges, he will be serving his time. For each unaliving will be consecutive, meaning a life sentence. He's serving 4 life sentences. No matter what, he's probably not ever getting out unless some sort of appeal on a technicality. Just because they say no appeal doesn't necessarily mean absolutely no appeals. There could be a loophole. There could be a technicality that he is able to appeal later on down the road. I still want to know how he knew where to go when he went inside. There still didn't seem to be any evidence of stalking or planning as far as planning, like knowing where to go within the house or who's in there and, looking them up and things like that. So I still don't, did he just randomly pick a house one day? How did he land on these people in this house? I want to study his brain. I want to know. I just wanted to comment on this plea today. I don't have much else right in the moment, but I did just want to make a few points and comments. I will be back later and we will talk more. Do something nice for yourself today. Be kind, but more importantly, be kind to your dog. Bye, guys.